We should all be furious. We should all be afraid of this.
This is the FBI. You have a federal warrant for this address. Keep your hands up and follow orders. This is the FBI. We have a warrant for this.
They handcuffed me and my wife out here. They wanted me to sit on the curb while they were carrying this out, something that I refused to do. They wanted my wife to sit on the curb out here, that she refused to do.
As I was coming out, this big old drone met me.
The only revolutionary organization that's done something here on the ground practically for African people is the one that's come under attack. Institution that offers a community radio station, a newspaper, a commercial kitchen, an Aquaba Hall rental space, and community office for our organizers. That was the building that has come under attack.
You need a breach? What do you need?
Need one.
I don't know.
Let's hold that with money.
Hold
Thank you.
We will build a movement of white people that says hands off the Uhuru movement.
They see in the African People's Socialist Party a vanguard for the struggle for the liberation of our people. They see that because not just what we do here in the United States, but because we had the temerity to do like Garvey, to do like Malcolm X, and take the struggle of black people around the world.
Uhuru comrades, welcome everybody to today's very exciting program and update on the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa Fightback Coalition counteroffensive in response to the FBI attacks on the African People's Socialist Party, the Black Power movement. And we say we are here today to continue the struggle, the anti-colonial struggle for not just free speech, but for human rights and for dignity and self-determination and the right to be self-governing people as it should be. And I just want to introduce myself, and we'll get started with today's program. My name is Mwezi Odom. I'm joining you via audio here in San Diego, California. And I am the chairperson of the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa counteroffensive. And I lead this campaign under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Amalia Shatella, who is the founder and leader of the Uhuru movement, and the African People's Socialist Party and its entire leading body, including Deputy Chair Onazeneya Shatella, who leads the economic and political work, which is why we understand this organization has come under attack. And so we have to, give you some really exciting updates. We're going to pull up a slide, and we're going to go ahead and get started. And, we have a major update today. The Uhuru 3 appeal hearing has been set. And as you saw in the video earlier, you got a chance to see the work, some of the work that we have been involved in this process in terms of the legal aspect and the fight back, in the, U.S. courts. And so for today, we have an exciting lineup of guest speakers, as well as updates on the campaign. And we're calling on everybody all out to Atlanta on July 22nd to be in the courtroom, to pack the courtroom for the Uhuru 3 appeal, which will overturn this bogus conspiracy theory, or this bogus charge on conspiracy to work for any type of foreign agent or anybody other than the African working class. So I'm inviting you right now to share this webinar with family, friends, people in your organizations, others that want to make a change and do something different. We're also streaming this on YouTube as well as on our Facebook pages as well. Before we begin today's program, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and remind us of the U.S. U.S. imperialism in all of its forms. And today we want to recognize and say justice for the Negros 19. We're going to be posting on our website and on our social media some graphics to continue to talk about this as the organization, as the Filipino movement is asking us to continue to put this out. This helps us to understand when we say U.S. out of the Philippines, we mean down with colonialism. So I'm just going to read the statement by Hands Off Uhuru before we begin. Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa Fight Back Coalition and Latin America Front, under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, which leads the Uhuru movement and all comrades in the struggle for self-determination and liberation, condemn the violent and lethal assault on the Negros 19 Occidental Province on April 19th, 2026. We recognize that this act of terror, carried out by the Philippine military murdered 19 people, including 2 Filipino activists living here in the United States. These are U.S., citizens, Lyle Frijoles from San Diego, California, and Kai Dana Rene Soram in Seattle, Washington. And the solidarity with the Uhuru movement and the liberation of Filipino people goes beyond well-wishing. We know that it was the initial assault on Africa 600 years ago that gave rise to the global system of colonial capitalism. The Philippines, as we understand, named after King Philip, is a result of colonialism. The United States government engaged in war with Spain in 1898 to steal the Philippines from the Spanish who had control. It is the U.S. government who imposed, Marcos and his family, now their heirs, as leadership in the Philippines. And it is the colonial mode of production with the face of neo-colonial leaders such as Marcos and others who sell out the people and facilitate the state terror, violence, and looting of resources such as sugar in the Negros province, which is commonly known as the sugar bowl of the Philippines, where workers produce and reproduce for the global economy. I will just want to, close it there, but the full statement will be released, and we just want to say justice for Negros 19, and please share that as well. Thank you, comrades. So Uhuru, and I'm going to be moving through some slides now to give you an update on where we are, and I'm going to invite up my co-host in just a moment. And so Uhuru is a Swahili word. It means freedom. You will hear us use this throughout the Uhuru movement. This is the freedom call for the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, Africans in Kenya who were fighting British colonialism As the chairman reminds us, Patrice Lumumba said Uhuru, Malcolm X said Uhuru, our sister Assata Shakur greeted the African liberation movement with Uhuru. And so we say Uhuru, we say Mabuhay, which is freedom in Tagalog, to unite all of our struggles, and Libertad. So thank you, comrades, for being here today. Oh, we can advance the slides. Thank you, comrades. So thank you, comrades, for being on today. So you are here following the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa counteroffensive. And today we're going to go through just the opening statements around the Uhuru 3 hearing, which has been set for July 22nd. We're calling on everybody out of this meeting for you to take out to your base and to commit to packing the courtroom at the U.S. Court of Appeals in Atlanta, Georgia, and the address is there below. More information will be coming out from the campaign, how you can get involved. And today you're going to get updates on the legal front, heading into this hearing, and so we can understand how to sum it up, and also hear from some more special guests. So again, I want to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Onizime Yeshitela, two of the members of the Uhuru movement who were raided on the morning of July 29, 2022, when the FBI carried out raids on 7 Uhuru properties in St. Louis, Missouri, and in St. Petersburg, Florida. This was an attack on the African liberation movement. Oh, we can advance the slides, please, Uhuru. Sorry, comrade. Next slide. Thank you. This is just some pictures from the raids that morning. And the main target, okay, great. I can start my video now. Wonderful. Uhuru, comrade, thank you. The main target was Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Chairman of the African People's Socialist Party and the African Socialist International, and then 2 other comrades that were named as indicted on these same charges: Penny Hess of the African People's Solidarity Committee and Jesse Neville of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. The Solidarity Front of the colonizer, population under the leadership of the African working class. And so, as the chairman said from the beginning, we are not retreating, we are building. So much has happened throughout the past 4 years of the Uhuru 3 fight back. This includes a support that has come from around the world, building the global anti-colonial free speech movement. As we understand, the charges against the Uhuru 3 were purely also a, based off of political speech and an affront to the, Constitution that we are supposed to uphold. We built a coalition tying together organizations and individuals from across the political spectrum to join the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa Fight Back Coalition. Part of the, one of the main events that we did, which was very important and very profound, was the Black People's March on the White House, joining the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations in their annual march, and, brought this, this anti-colonial fight back straight to the, straight to Uncle Sam. We built a front, hasta la victoria siempre, we say, and we said to launch the Hands Off Uhuru Latin America front. This was to, unite the struggle of African people all throughout the world, and to not have our struggle be isolated from the struggle of the indigenous people, of the so-called Americas. The case of the Uhuru 3, as we understand it, is going to determine the future of free speech. We were victorious in our, in our trial on September 2024, as we call it, the free speech trial of the century, which it was, took place in the federal court in Tampa, Florida. And coming out of the trial, the Uhuru 3 were found, not guilty of being foreign agents, and also guilty, through this wrongful, conviction that we can, that we will sum up, of being, of conspiring to basically be agents of Russia. And we faced, a sentencing due to the conviction, and the sentencing hearing was, again, we packed the courthouse. This is a photo of some of the comrades who were able to join us on the ground there, where the judge made the determination: no prison, no fine, This was a victory to the Uhuru Three and to the anti-colonial struggle. And the Uhuru Three have now, early termination of their probation, and they're completed their 300 hours of community service. And we have to just really salute our brilliant attorneys. The Uhuru Three attorneys are, the baddest out there. And I want to take a moment to salute Addie Griffin, who represents Chairman Amalia Shatella, Mutaki Akbar, who represents Jesse Neville, Leonard Goodman, who represents Chairwoman Penny Hess, and as well as Angela Rainey, who is, provides such profound contributions to this fight back in terms of, the writing appeals and such, as well as Tom Inskeep, who was an intricate part as well during the Uhuru 3 fight back. Our attorneys did file the appeal to overturn this guilty conviction. This was an image of us after the sentencing, I believe, summing things up. So that was clear that we were going to appeal this guilty conviction, this wrongful conviction. So we say, more than that, the Uhuru 3 battle for free speech is not over. So we were granted oral arguments in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, to overturn this 2024 conviction on the bogus conspiracy charge. And the date has been set, Atlanta, Georgia, July 22nd, 2026. So I'm going to bring up Chairwoman Penny Hess, who's also going to be going through some of the slides with me. And I just want to really salute you, comrade. One of the Uhuru 3 is going to, get us a little bit more information about the days of actions that we want to plan around the sentencing on July 22nd. So I see you there, comrade.
Uhuru, Chairman Wazy, and I just really want to join in welcoming all the comrades and friends who are with us today, and that this is a powerful event. And I want to join in saluting my leadership, Chairman Omali Shatella, leader of the African People's Socialist Party, and as we said, the main target of this vicious state attack against the African Liberation Movement and the African People's Socialist Party. And I want to salute Deputy Chair Onizine Shatella, who leads and coordinates the incredible Black Power Blueprint and the work on the ground here in St. Louis and in other places throughout the world, including in Africa. And just to say it is an honor to be here today. I see that our powerful attorney, Leonard Goodman, is with us today. Very honored, always an honor and a pleasure to have him with us. Also want to salute Comrade Afia Ngwanza, who is with us today. And there are, this is a very profound period in the world today. So it is very, very important that this fight goes on for anti-colonial free speech. I wanted to be, I'm honored to and excited to announce that the Uhuru 3 appeal does have a campaign for action prior to, leading up to the hearing for the oral arguments. So what we're going to be doing is, and we don't have everything totally coordinated yet. Can people hear me? I don't know, I'm getting something here.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So on Tuesday, July 21st, we will be holding an event in Atlanta, Georgia, where the appeal is going to be held. And we don't have the venue totally coordinated for that yet. We really want to salute comrades Natsu and Ward and Paulette, who are out in Atlanta, who've been taking on, coordinating this action, doing so much to forward it, and really appreciate them. So, but we do know that we will have an event in Atlanta on Tuesday, July 21st. We will get that word out about where it will be within the next few weeks for sure. And then, of course, on Wednesday, July 22nd, according to our understanding from our attorneys, the hearing with the oral arguments will be the first one in the morning at the appeal court in Atlanta. I know it's a certain district, or we can hear more about that. But we will be there at 9 a.m. We will be the first heard, and it's relatively short. So our plan is that after the hearing and the oral arguments are completed, we will have a space for a public summation. And it will be, everybody will be invited. We'll be able to, talk about it, sum up its importance and our next steps as the Uhuru 3. And then at noon, we're going to have a group lunch. We have people who are helping to contribute to the catering for that. So it's going to be very powerful. It's just in the works right now. I'm very excited about it. There is Chairman Wasey, can you tell us the place to sign up for that? There is a place to sign up, Google Forms. So we're just saying it's not mandatory, but
it's
if
on
you
the next slide.
can, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Chairman Penny. Yeah, that's really exciting. And again, we'll have more information. We are, when you sign up, you will be getting updates, and we will be also making updates on the Take Action section of our website. So if you, and this can be put in the chat by our chat moderators, handsoffuhuru.org/take action. When you click on that tab on the website, you will find more information about the, dates, even hotel, recommendations, and having that schedule may also allow how and when you come and go. But you'll see a green button there that says, I will attend the Uhuru 3 appeal hearing, July 22nd, and this is to pack the courtroom or to participate in these events that you saw. So when you click on that, you'll see a form, and I see our Zoom tech is sharing that form. So here's a good look of it for everybody. So all out to Atlanta, it should take just a couple minutes to complete the form, and general information, will be provided there. And you'll also see the, schedule there one more time, the proposed schedule. So go to handsoffuhuru.org/take action. Let us know in the chat when you filled out the form and when you've committed to coming, so we can thank you and we can appreciate you and see you there in Atlanta. And there's also a committee that is being formed. Go ahead, Comrade.
No, I just wanted to add, thank you for laying that out.
Yes.
Chairman Wasey, I just wanted to add that we will have information on suggested hotels. We're trying to get a group rate, and we want to get a hotel near the courthouse. So we will have information on that posted as well very shortly.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Comrade. Yes, so stay connected to the Take Action page for your updates about that, as well as the Hands Off Uhuru website. Overall, we'll have that information. And we have a goal, comrades, as we are talking about this appeal. We have legal expenses that we want to have available for our attorneys to do the work that they need to do, and also to support, other expenses, a part of, which are as a result of these attacks. So we're on slide 27 now. This is because I'm still seeing another screen on my end, at least, just for our Zoom text to know that. But I want to put out the call that today we are calling to raise $2,000 towards the Uhuru 3 appeal and the oral arguments. This is part of our effort to, as I said, raise the resources, and you're going to hear later on from our appeals team, our fundraising team, about how close we are to meeting our goal and how quickly we can do this, through the work of our organizations and our fight back. So as Chairwoman Penny said, we have an exciting updates. We want to just, announce some of the guest speakers. Next slide, and keynote presentations. You'll be hearing from Chairman Amalia Shatella providing a political analysis of the current period. We will be reading some updates from Brenda Lopez of the U.S. Hands Off Cuba Committee to speak to the recent convoy and, struggle to, defend Cuba. We want to salute Comrade Sister Afia Wangaza, who is with the Malcolm X grassroots movement and WMXP Radio in Greenville, South Carolina, who will be giving us an update on the UN, resolution to reparations to African people. We're excited to hear from our attorney, Leonard Goodman, the Uhuru 3 attorney and one member of the legal team, Chairwoman Penny Hess of APSC, African People Solidarity Committee, and Chair Jesse, who will be leading this section with our dear comrade and attorney Leonard Goodman. So thank you, comrades, so much for being here. And, you know, we want to, I'm going to turn it over. I think this is, I can just go through these next ones quickly, comrades, and I'll turn it back to you. But, you know, this fight back is not happening in isolation. This is not just about, you know, keeping, you know, freeing the Uhuru 3, as, you know, although it is clearly, you know, concretely, we are aware of that, but we are also in a struggle that is much greater. And this is a struggle to the global resistance against the colonial mode of production. As we say, and as we can, you know, recognize that we are winning because colonialism is in crisis. It will always be in crisis as long as there is a resistance. And what is colonialism? We understand that it's important to talk about colonialism. And the reason you're hearing colonialism today, you know, more and more, and why it must be recognized is because of the struggle of, you know, of the Black Power movement, of the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman Amalia Shatella himself, who has fought his entire life to resolve this verdict on the African, you know, on the African liberation movement, on African people and all colonized and oppressed peoples around the world. Colonialism is the foreign and alien domination of a people for economic exploitation and political advantage, to strip a people of all human and civil rights and rule without regard to law. We can sum that up in many ways that, you know, like in what we're seeing right now throughout the world. And the only, you know, struggle that we have as colonized people, you know, and perhaps the weakness is that we, when we do exercise political and economic power in our hands, you know, we are not, you know, we are, you know, attaining the power, you know, and the chairman can sum it up later, but I really think that this is important because it helps us to recognize why our struggle must be about economic and political power, because when it is, this is how we overturn and we negate, you know, the impact of colonialism, you know, or the presence of colonialism by, you know, building in our own interests and self-determination. So when we fight colonialism, we win, and this is part of this fight back of Hands Off Uhuru and part of the struggle that you are a part of as well. So we say, you know, U.S. out of Latin America, U.S. out of the Caribbean. We recognize the, you know, struggles of indigenous people of the so-called Americas. We're going to be hearing and talking more about, you know, Cuba and the struggle for, you know, the Cuban people who are under, you know, constant attacks through the U.S., you know, through U.S. imperialism, however, are, you know, fighting the same struggle against colonialism. We say stop the U.S. government starvation of Cuba. We say salute, you know, this is a, you know, just salute to the Venceremos Brigade and updates, as you can see recently in the New York Times, that Cuba has, you know, reported, you know, in terms of this crisis, you know, running out of oil. We want to salute the U.S. Hands Off Cuba Committee and other activists in Nuestra America Convoy who played a massive, you know, role in the, you know, winning resources, material resources for Cuba, who visited there in April. And salute the U.S. Hands Off Cuba Committee and their work, you know, supporting the Hands Off Uhuru campaign since the very beginning. And we want to salute those comrades as well. I'm going to turn it over to Chairwoman Penny. Uhuru.
Uhuru, and we say hands off Venezuela, victory to the people of Venezuela, and to know that the U.S. government has, next slide, has illegitimately, against all international law, the U.S. has kidnapped President Maduro and the first combatant, Celia Flores, and holding them in the United States, and we call for their complete liberation. We call for the victory of the people of Venezuela and the Bolivarian Revolution. Next slide. Yeah, so free President Nicolas Maduro and Celia Flores. We want to salute, next slide, please. We want to salute our comrade and member of Hands Off Uhuru, Jesus Rodriguez Espinoza, and his incredible Orinoco Tribune, where you are able to find that as a website that is available to us even here inside the borders of the United States, that gives incredible true history, true reality, and true news of what is going on in that region. And we want to call for hands off Iran, victory to the people of Iran, self-determination, victory to the people of Iran, U.S., Israel, out of Iran, out of the Middle East, out of Gaza. And we want to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela. This is a picture of Chairman Omali Yeshitela in 1979 in Gainesville, Florida, with students, Iranian students, who at that time were also fighting U.S. imperialism and colonial domination, following the U.S. overthrow of the democratically elected government of the people of Iran. Next slide. Stop the U.S. and Israeli, U.S.-backed Israel attacks on Iran, victory to the Iranian people. Next slide. Stop the U.S.-backed Israeli assaults on Lebanon and the Middle East. Next slide. Victory to Palestine. And reparations to African people. Next slide. UN, and we want to salute, and we're really honored to have Comrade Afia Ngwanza with us today to talk about the UN resolution on reparations for the enslavement of African people, naming it as the gravest crime against humanity. This is due to the work begun by Chairman Omali Yeshitela more than 40 years ago, holding the first tribunal on reparations to African people. And we want to salute Comrade Afia's powerful work inside these committees, inside the United Nations, the US-backed United Nations that fought for this resolution. And she's going to talk to us about that today. Next slide. The only votes against this resolution were the US-backed Israel, and Argentina. Next slide, commemorating the 25th anniversary of the Durban Declaration, which the US was there, and we endorse the August 29th, 2026 Day for Reparations and Pan-African Solidarity. Next slide. So again, the struggle of the anti-colonial people, the struggles against colonialism around the world exposed settler colonialism inside the borders of the United States, built on the enslavement of African people and the theft of indigenous people's land and popular settler genocide against the indigenous people. We salute our comrade Unyan, our comrade organization, and longtime sister organization of the African People's Socialist Party. We salute Union del Barrio and their fierce fight that is going on against ICE, against the U.S. attacks on the liberation and the right of indigenous people to their own land here in this stolen U.S. We say victory to African people around the world. A great picture. We fight to overturn the colonial mode of production, and recognizing that everything produced for the colonizer comes at the expense of the colonized. Next slide. We are not retreating. We are building. We are fighting under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And Chairman Wazy, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Uhuru, great. Thank you so much, comrade. Yes, we are not retreating, we are building, and we're calling on everybody to participate in helping us reach our goal of $2,000 towards the Hands Off Uhuru legal fees. So we're going to move our program, but you can go right now to handsoffuhuru.org/donate, and we'll be sure to thank you throughout the program and give everybody an update on where we are. So I want to appreciate everybody who has joined us. Those of you that are, of course, still with us, we are here to forward the appeal. So again, our chat moderators will also put that in the chat. You can also contribute to this fight back by joining us in Atlanta to pack the courthouse. So go to handsoffuhuru.org/take-action and join us there, comrades. So next up on our program is a report on the appeal. And this will be led by the chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, Comrade Jesse Neville, one of the Uhuru Three, who will be having a discussion and update with our attorney, Leonard Goodman, who is one of the Uhuru 3 attorneys. So I want to invite those comrades to come up to the, come on camera and turn your mics on. And we're going to also, throughout this part of the program too, please feel free to, if you have any questions, you can enter them in now so we can have them be addressed at a later time. Uhuru. So can we hear us in St. Louis?
Uhuru.
And then Uhuru, great. And Attorney Goodman, let's try to help him unmute.
I think we're having, okay, there we are. All right,
Uhuru.
Uhuru Chairmoisi. Very excited to be here. Just want to say all out to Atlanta, hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. And it's an honor to be here with Chairman Omali Shatella and Chairwoman Penny Hess, and with you, Chairmoisi, and Attorney Leonard Goodman, and everyone who's joining us, all of the guests and attendees who are part of this important event today. And I also will be talking about the fundraising later, but I do want to say that donations are coming in. So we'll be announcing those in just a bit. Thank you to everybody who's already gone to handsoffahuru.org/donate and made your contributions. Our goal today is $2,000, and we're already almost halfway there. So please continue to go to handsoffahuru.org/donate. So I will be introducing our guest today, who is our incredible, brilliant attorney from the legal team for the Uhuru 3, Leonard Goodman, joining us from Chicago, Illinois. And I want to start off by saluting this incredible team of lawyers that came together under the leadership of Hands Off Uhuru, under the leadership of Chairman Omali Shatella, that included Mutaki Akbar, Addie Griffin, Tom Inskeep, Leonard Goodman, and Angela Rainey. And in particular, I want to shout out Leonard, who we're going to be talking to in just a bit, who took on this case from day one pro bono. And I'm going to be asking him a little bit about why he felt it was important to do that and why he continues to do that. Leonard Goodman also hired for the trial Angela Rainey, who proved to be an absolutely indispensable part of the Hands Off Uhuru, the Uhuru 3 legal team. And Angela Rainey has since started her own private practice and has agreed to stay on the case pro bono herself. So this is an incredible stand taken by these attorneys. Very inspirational stand that they've taken. So as Chairmoisi and Chairwoman Penny pointed out and announced, the precedent-setting Uhuru 3 appeal hearing is set for Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026, 9 a.m. in courtroom 339 at the Elbert Tuttle U.S. Court of Appeals building in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta, Georgia. This comes just a week before the 4-year anniversary of the FBI raids on the Uhuru movement. And every single step of this process, we're going to be talking about legal precedents, but as Chairman Omali Shatella has always helped us understand, the real precedent that has been set with this fight back is in the fight back itself. The political precedent that the chairman created the moment that he stood on the steps of his home on July 29th, 2022, and launched the fight back that has secured every victory since, has proven that when we fight, we win. And this appeal hearing is a continuation of that reality. The hearing is not a given. Getting an oral argument hearing is not a given in an appeal. And the fact that this hearing is happening is once again evidence that the chairman and the Uhuru movement have beaten the odds and shown that you can push back the colonial state. Just doing a little bit of cursory research, I was able to find that the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit grants oral argument hearings only about 11% to 14% of the time. So this is not the norm. This is actually one of the federal appeals courts with the lowest rate of granting oral arguments in the country, with 86 to 89% of cases being decided based solely on the written briefs and the record, and with the vast majority of those cases being decided in favor of the lower court's decision. So the Uhuru 3, as we know, faced trial in Tampa in September of 2024 and faced charges of acting as unregistered Russian agents and conspiracy to act as unregistered Russian agents, which carried a maximum penalty of 15 years in federal prison. effectively the threat of a death sentence for Chairman Amalia Shatella, who was the primary target. And the attorneys brilliantly argued and carried out the political legal strategy to prove that everything that the Uhuru Three and the chairman engaged in was legal speech protected by the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment and the Bill of Rights, and which ultimately even the judge had to admit on the record. And it wasn't just any speech. It was speech consistent with more than 50 years of leadership and work by the chairman and the party, reparations speech, speech against genocide, speech for the liberation of Africa and African people, and yes, speech in opposition to the US proxy war against Russia, consistent with, as the attorneys showed through 50 years of Burning Spear newspapers, the fact that the chairman has opposed every single U.S. imperialist and U.S. proxy war that has taken place since the inception of the party and even before the inception of the party. So the chairman famously condemned this prosecution as a political attack. He said it was the canary in the coal mine, opening the door for escalated attacks on free speech rights for everyone. That has proven to be the case. The trial ended with a split verdict. The Uhuru Three were acquitted of the main charge of acting as unregistered Russian agents, and that was a tremendous political victory. As the chairman said on the steps of the courthouse that day, the government could not convict the Uhuru movement of working for anyone except for Black people, and the jury rejected the government's attempt to delegitimize the agency of African people by attributing the voice of African people to Russian propaganda and disinformation, quote unquote. But due to a lot of the issues laid out in our appeal that attorney Leonard Goodman is going to talk to us about, including confusing, misleading jury instructions and prosecutorial misconduct and lies, the jury came to a split verdict convicting the Uhuru Three of conspiracy to do the thing that they found the Uhuru Three not guilty of actually doing. So, by the way, I have done some research and asked actually lawyers and people in our legal support committee to look into if there's ever been a case where someone goes to trial and gets convicted of conspiracy to act as an agent without notifying the attorney general's office, but is acquitted by the same jury of acting as an unregistered agent. No one's been able to find anything. This is actually unprecedented, the way this case turned out. So the conviction has been widely denounced. And the sentencing in December 2024, the prosecutors begged for prison time and massive fines. The judge sentenced the Uhuru Three to 3 years of probation, 300 hours of community service, which he said the Uhuru Three would do standing on our heads. So we did that, and the judge ended the probation 2 years early this past January. And one quick update to give you. Meanwhile, back in the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Middle District of Florida, things are not going quite so well. Daniel Marcet, who you may remember from the trial, is no longer employed by the U.S. Attorney's Office. And we recently learned that he's been replaced by a federal prosecutor named Joseph Ruddy. I'm sorry, I don't think we have a photo of him. Maybe we could get one and pull up, or you can just literally just go to Google and search Joseph Ruddy, federal prosecutor. And the first thing you will see is his mugshot, him wearing an orange jumpsuit after he was arrested for DUI, hit and run, drunk driving. There's body cam footage of him urinating on himself while he was being arrested. He was never charged, and he still works for the prosecutor's office. This is the guy they have now assigned. There he is. There's the prosecutor who is now attached to the Uhuru Three case on the local level. So he will not be the one arguing the case in Atlanta for the government. That will be a DC-based federal appellate attorney named Joseph Minta. And on him, the little we know about him, he did argue a foreign agent case in the appeals court a few years ago. And guess what? He lost. So on the other hand, we have an amazing team that's getting ready for this hearing. Attorney Leonard Goodman will actually be the one presenting the arguments at the appeal hearing, the oral argument hearing, and all of the other attorneys will be present to work with him and to prepare with him and the Uhuru Three during that hearing. So I want to end this introduction by quoting the attorney that we're about to hear from, Leonard Goodman, who said, "The government here is using this foreign agents law to prosecute members of an activist group for political speech and activism in opposition to U.S. foreign policy. In so doing, this prosecution strikes at the heart of the First Amendment." So we just want to welcome and salute the incredible attorney, Leonard Goodman. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Good to see you as always.
Oh, it's great to see you all.
Yes. So first question is to just talk about what it means that this appeal brief that you did so much incredible work on, and our other great attorneys as well. What does it mean that the appeal brief was granted oral arguments, and what can people expect who will be coming to Atlanta on July 22nd?
Well, thank you, Jesse. Yeah, first of all, you gave me some news. I was not aware that only such a small percentage of 11th Circuit cases were granted oral arguments. So thanks for that news. I also wasn't aware that you all had broken the prosecutor's office in the Middle District of Florida. So congratulations for that. So yeah, so we'll have oral arguments. I guess they're rarely granted down in Atlanta. We got one, so they clearly think that our appeal has legs, and they want to hear from the lawyers. They want the government to defend their prosecution. They want to hear our position as to why this needs to be reversed. And we have 15 minutes to make that case. The government will also have 15 minutes to make their case. It's very hard to predict how these things will go. We have basically three issues on appeal. One is that this case should never have been allowed to go to trial because, as you mentioned, it targets political speech. And as Jesse told you, the judge actually came around to this view. It took a while, but at the sentencing hearing, he said, yes, this case was just about political speech. I wish he had come around to that a little earlier. It might have changed this. But really, the argument is you should never have had to stand trial for political speech. And I think we all know why they were targeted. Lots of people make political speech, lots of groups that have followers the way the chairman does and Jesse and Penny do, that have followers make political speeches. So why was yours so threatening? Well, I think if you remember what was happening in July of 2022, the U.S. government was trying to convince Congress to fund a proxy war against Russia. And at that time, the chairman, Jesse and Penny, were espousing views that were pro-Russia. And that can't be had at that time. It was considered dangerous. And so we can't allow that. We can't allow the government to say, yeah, there's free speech, but not when we don't like it or when it harms our political agenda. So that's why this case is so important. And that's why I think this appeal is so important. As Jesse said, all of you have already completed your probation. So it's not about you all facing jail or anything like that. It's about precedent. Because if they can do this to these three, the Uhuru three, they can do it to anyone that has political speech, that has followers, that has people listening to them, where that speech is inconvenient to the government's political agenda, and especially their imperialist agenda.
Yes.
So we have three issues. So the first issue is it should never have been brought. The second issue is, well, there's no evidence. They didn't present any evidence that you all were agents of Russia, which an agent under the law, it means you're under the direction and control of Russia. No, there was no such evidence. Now, normally that's a losing issue to say there's no evidence after a jury comes back with a finding. But in this case, it's very unusual. First of all, they had no witnesses at trial that pointed a finger and said, I saw this guy, these people act as agents, or I saw them do something illegal. Not one person. They've been around South Florida, Tampa, St. Petersburg area for 50 years. Not one person could they find that could say a bad word about them. So it was a paper case, documents that they pulled off the web of their communications with Russian national. And then they called 4 agents to go through these documents and explain them to the jury and explain their significance. Every single one of those 4 agents said there was no evidence that they were under direction and control. They were pursuing their own agenda, and they were not pursuing Russia's agenda. And they would join with Russia on certain issues that furthered their core values. So that should be the end of the matter, really. There is no evidence. They've admitted it. The government really has no answer to any of these. You know, they bring up the argument of national security, which is sort of the last refuge of scoundrels. Well, we're doing this for for national security. And the one thing I think people need to keep in mind, and I think it's wonderful for people to come down to Atlanta and show support, but it's very important for people to be respectful of the court, because we don't want to give any fuel to this bogus argument that this is somehow a national security case. You can look at the indictment. The court can look at the indictment. There's nothing in there about national security. What the indictment says is you all are guilty of spreading pro-Russian speech, which they call propaganda and misinformation. Although, as we showed at trial, there was no misinformation. Everything that you said was truthful. Everything that O'Malley said was truthful about the support of Ukraine, about the coup in 2014, about NATO's encroachment towards Russia's borders. It was all truthful. But, that doesn't matter to the government because it was inconvenient and they didn't want you making those truthful points. So that's the second argument. The third argument is, well, how do you convict somebody of a crime with no evidence? Well, you mislead the jury. And so that's our third argument. It's probably the least important argument because it would only get us a new trial. The other two would be a complete win, a vindication, an exoneration. A new trial will still take as a door prize, but and win the case at a retrial. But so those are our three arguments, and we'll have 15 minutes to present it. Now, when you have 15 minutes, the judges are going to let you know what they're interested in and what they're concerned about. So the point for us and these other great lawyers that I've been working with, and I've been so proud to get to know, Mutaki and Adi especially, and also Angela and Tom. So what we have to do is prepare for whatever the judge, it's hard to predict what the judges are going to be concerned about, but we have to be prepared to answer their questions and satisfy their concerns about our position.
Excellent. That was great. Thank you so much, Attorney Leonard Goodman. That was, you answered most of my questions just now, so thank you so much. And I know we don't know who the three judges will be yet. I think that was like maybe July 7th we heard was when those names will be announced. So that will be interesting to see. And I guess, kind of the final question here is, you took this case on, you were there from the beginning in terms of this legal team coming together. You came on pro bono. You've stayed on as such ever since, every step of the way. What has this case meant to you, and why has it been so important to you for you to be a part of this?
Well, I believe in free speech. I'm, maybe a free speech absolutist. And this is an incredibly dangerous case to say that we're going to prosecute you under federal criminal law, make you face long prison sentences if convicted. And we're going to do that because we don't like the contents of your political speech. Now, I had known of Chairman Yeshitela's work throughout the years, and I happen to agree with his anti-colonialist views, but that really wasn't the reason why. I believe in what the Supreme Court has said for 100 years, is that the cure for bad speech, if you think somebody is saying something wrong, the cure for that is more speech. Correct them. Go out there and give your own speech. Write your own articles. Write your own op-eds. It's not to censor. It's not to prosecute people for speech that we don't like. And if this precedent is followed, if the courts allow this type of case, we're all in danger.
Uhuru. Thank you so much, Attorney Goodman. It's been an honor to have you on, and we're very proud to be represented by you as well as our other incredible lawyers. And we'll see you in Atlanta.
Okay. Thank you all.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you so much, comrades. Really great update, and just want to unite with our brilliant attorneys, and really great honor to have you on, Leonard Goodman, and for that exciting update and important update about why this, how important this, Uhuru 3 case is for everyone. So I'm really excited to move our program, and we're going to go to our next speaker for today. And I'd like to introduce Comrade Sister Afia Wangaza, who we want to welcome up with us, who was there with us in St. Louis for the International Plenary of the African People's Socialist Party, representing the Malcolm X Center for Self-Determination, the Malcolm X Roots Movement, and WMXP Radio in Greenville, South Carolina. Our dear comrade is going to give us a report on the historic UN resolution on reparations to African people. So I want to welcome you up, comrade, and you can check the chat for any time, cues if needed. Uhuru. Great to have you on, Lucia.
Thank you. Uhuru. Uhuru.
Mhm.
I want to express my gratitude for the honor of participating in this webinar and for expressing solidarity and support for comrades Chairman Omali Yesitala, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville. And to salute the attorneys who have provided representation. As an attorney myself, having as a college student supporting the seating of Julian Bond and the trial of Kwame Ture, formerly known as Stokely Carmichael, sitting in the very courthouse where we will be appearing, and myself debating the usefulness of becoming an attorney and practicing Anglo-US jurisprudence. So I salute the members of the bar who have provided brilliant representation, and even more to be able to stomach the process and to find some usefulness in it. On March 25th of this year, the president of Ghana, John Mahamudu, on behalf of the African Union, presented to the UN General Assembly the resolution holding that the transatlantic trafficking of Africans, we must be diligent and intentional about our language, and the racialization of chattel enslavement is the gravest crime against humanity. The resolution is the culmination of years, if not indeed centuries, of work that have gone into challenging the Maiafa, challenging the trafficking and the enslavement of African people. Oftentimes, we're encouraged to believe that the Africans just sold other Africans to the Europeans without regard for their outcome. And indeed, we have learned of the various rituals and cultural changes that have come as a result of the trauma of the enslavement of us, and of the stories of folk drowning as they walked into the Atlantic Ocean in search of relatives taken away. There's a sister, Ife Williams, who has began mapping the resistance that occurred both on the African coast and on throughout North America. In 1955, with the beginning of the Bandung Conference, and as the chairman often reminds us, when the whole world was engaged in revolution and struggling for independence, the Bandung Conference was called by Nkrumah of Ghana, Nehru of Pakistan, and Mao Zedong of China. These newly independent countries came together and formed what was known as the non-aligned movement. The United States was skulking around at that time, attempting to suppress and to divide. In fact, it attempted to bribe various of the countries to side with it, as opposed to the then Soviet Union. Out of that came a series of other world conferences against racism, xenophobia, and other intolerances, culminating in 2001 in the Durban Declaration and Program of Action. That was the third, I believe, World Conference against racism. In the DDPA, there was, which was a consensus document, there was the holding that colonialism, slavery, and apartheid were crimes against the humanity, and indeed slavery was and should have been also from its inception. Chattel slavery particularly. In the March 25th gravest crime resolution, which passed the United Nations General Assembly by a vote of 123 nations, there were 50 that abstained and 3 which voted against it. That was, of course, Argentina, Israel, and the United States, Argentina being the haven for the Nazis following I'm trying to think of the world, so-called World War II. This, of course, we must note, is the 25th year of the Durban Declaration, and it, in its pronouncement of the crimes against humanity, laid the foundation for slavery being transatlantic trafficking and enslavement of Africans in chattel slavery, laid the foundation for what became that resolution. The resolution, I want to point out, was challenged, the language, whether it was the gravest or a grave, the challenge being one of the challenges, and there were a number, but one of the challenges being that it was prioritizing suffering. And the drafters of the resolution pointed out that the trafficking and enslavement of Africans was given the large-scale trafficking, resulted in the profound rupture of human history and human development, the consequences of which have extended across centuries and continents. That the 15th century marked the critical beginning of the exceptional and dark history of the capture, forced transportation, racialized chattel enslavement of African people, and through the first known mass state-sponsored auction of captured persons, generally Africans in particular. Further, the resolution recognized that the 400 years of trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans forcibly captured, commodified, and transported millions of men, women, and children constituted the largest forced migration in history, one of the largest running systems of organized mass human exploitation in recorded history, with millions more dying during captivity, detention, and transport. It also acknowledges and recognizes the exceptional, and I think of Queen Mother Dorothy Lewis, who was a co-founder of the Black is Back Coalition for Peace and Reparations. In fact, she was the one who reminded us to add reparations to the title. She was also a co-founder of Encobra and a leading voice in encouraging some of the persons who are currently recognized as the fathers of reparations in advancing positions that she feared would suffer if brought by a woman. The resolution acknowledges the exceptional gender nature of the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement, in which African women and girls were systematically subjected to sexual violence, forced reproduction, domestic servitude, and gender-specific forms of exploitation, which rendered us uniquely vulnerable to multiple and aggravated forms of racial, sexual, and economic domination, while also acknowledging their central role in sustaining families, cultures, resistance movements, and abolitionist struggles under conditions of extreme coercion, that we, our ancestors, were systematically exploited as women. In addition to that, the resolution acknowledges and lists, and I urge you to read the resolution. I won't take time to go through each one of the codifications of the process and justification or rationalization, since there is no justification, the rationalization of the trafficking of Africans and the racialization of chattel enslavement. A particular note, however, is that in the legal and moral traditions across the world that were affirmed, all inherently recognize the dignity of all human beings, which is a part of the violation of the trafficking of Africans and the racialization of chattel enslavement. It was, the resolution calls attention to the Conquerum Fagu, or the Maiden Charter of 1235, in the African tradition, which Article 5, that everybody has the right to life and to the preservation of physical integrity, and established the sovereignty of life over property. They would have us to believe that we were uncivilized and had no system of governance. I cite that particular statute, human rights standard, in dispute of that, and it being the oldest oldest human rights standard in the world. And again, I'll simply say, it's a beautiful document. It's informative. In fact, every time I read it, I am deeply moved by the document itself and the fact that it was written by a sister who is a professor in the United States, and the school escapes me at this point. It calls on member states of the United Nations to support initiatives aimed at reparatory justice and sustainable development for affected peoples, including consideration of contributions to reparations related programs established by relevant regional organizations. And in doing so, that it meets the 5 conditions of UN guidelines. And that is that 1, cessation, assurances, and guarantees of non-repetition of any form. In the United States, it continues in the form of the 13th Amendment exception of conviction of a crime. And of course, who gets to define the crime are surprisingly not the beneficiaries of such convictions. Number 2, the restitution and repatriation of the survivors of the crime. That the survivors of the crime are compensated to their satisfaction, that they are rehabilitated. We hold that the combination of the progression of the independence of those who have been subject and us as survivors, as the global system of colonialism, the means of production, as the chairman so frequently reminds us, and that the resolution points out was redefined and restructured based on the trafficking of Africans and the racialization of chattel slavery in the centuries and its nature and in its continued impact. So based on that, while United States resolutions have little more than establishing records, a basis for, as is often said, naming, blaming, and shaming, it places the United States back into the position it was in 1955 when it was wooing newly independent countries around the world, and they could point to its treatment of African people in the U.S. borders and under U.S. jurisdiction. The case of the Uhuru 3 puts it squarely into the modern day context that not only are we physically imprisoned, but we must be mentally and verbally challenged and punished, that we dare have our own mind, our own analysis, and our own narrative. It is my pleasure and my honor to stand with the Uhuru 3.
Uhuru, attorney and Comrade Afia. I see Chairman Moisey is on. I just wanted to really salute that brilliant presentation and very powerful. And I would like to make sure that that declaration gets in the chat so people could read it. And Comrade Lisa found, is it called the Declaration of the Traffic of Enslaved Africans and Racialized Chattel Enslavement of Africans as the Greatest Crime Against Humanity? It's a PDF.
Absolutely.
Just want to make sure that is the correct one.
Yes.
All right. So thank you so much
Great.
for that.
Wonderful.
Yes. Uhuru. Oh, I wanted to ask you one more quick question, if I could. You mentioned at the very beginning that the courthouse that where we would have our appeal will take place, was a historic courthouse where other cases in the 1960s. I was just moving a little bit then. Could you just repeat what you said about that?
As I was a student at Spelman College at the time, and working in the office of Howard Moore, who was Julian's brother-in-law, and a member of the SNCC Atlanta project, serving in addition to all else, because we were always overextended, as the campus organizer in support of Julian for the special elections when the Georgia legislature refused to seat him after he, as communications secretary for SNCC, presented our opposition to the U.S. war on Vietnam. We had brought to Atlanta students from various schools to work in Atlanta, actually from Tougaloo College in particular. And the cops had shot and killed someone, and as a result of that, there was an uprising protesting the murder of this brother in the Houston Street area. And Kwame Ture, then known as Stokely Carmichael, was charged with inciting to riot. And it was in that courthouse that he was to be tried. And as I sat there, I realized that they get to define the terms in their situation, in their court. They get to define their law, and they do it in a way that serves their purposes. And but for the community's engagement, the community overwhelming, as we must do against the Calais decision that the U.S. Supreme Court recently issued, then the legal system will use its, especially in the federal system, where they sit for life, they will use that system to maintain dominion over African people and other vulnerable and marginalized members of the population.
Uhuru. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, just really wanted to appreciate that presentation and update, and very moving, period in the struggle for reparations. And I just really want to salute, the historical struggle of, Queen Mother Moore, Chairman Amalia Shatella, and the part of, and you, Sister Afia, in your work as an early SNCC organizer as well, understanding the, colonial question. And I also wanted to just say too, we're going to work on getting that in the chat as well. There it is. So it's in chat here on Zoom, and great. And we'll also on our platforms and work to get this information up and out there as well. And Sister Fia, I hope you will stay with us for just a little longer on today's webinar. And we just want to, again, thank you, comrades.
Thank you.
We are going, Uhuru, thank you. And comrades, we are, I'm really excited to just give an update on how much we have raised thus far in our program. And I want to give a shout out to just some of the people who have donated already, and we'll announce totals later. But I want to salute Mauricio Jimenez for kicking us off with a great donation. I'm going to say it, $250. We want to appreciate you. And then I also want to salute Comrade Barbara for your donation. Frank, Lawrence, great to hear from you, comrade, as well as Maureen, Kat, MQ, Lisa. And I believe that takes us to, we have a goal of raising $2,000 on today. And so far we have raised, $870. So I missed some names. $870 has been raised, comrades, and we have 1,130 left to go. So I also want to thank Johan Comrade Johan and Comrade Indigo for your donation. So we're going to give a big announcement later on with our appeal, but all of this is going towards the legal defense support for the Uhuru 3. So I want to appreciate you for going to handsoffahuru.org/donate, and our chat moderators can put that again in the chat. And I'm going to, one of our speakers was unable to join due to some technical difficulties with Zoom and the connection. So, and that's Brenda Lopez. So I'm going to read the report coming from Nuestra America Convoy, who marched with Code Pink. This was in March 2026. And this is a report from the U.S. Hands Off Cuba Committee who participated in that convoy. So I'm going to go ahead and read that right now. And I don't know, there is a slide that we could put up that has just the picture of the U.S. committee. So if our Zoom text can refer to the original document, you'll see an update there while I read this. So let me come back to that, comrade. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, Uhuru. So Nuestra America Convoy with Code Pink, this is March 2026. This report is coming from Brenda Lopez. Brenda Lopez is a young Chicana activist who helped found multiple chapters of the U.S. Hands Off Cuba Committee and is now a part of the Bay Area Cuba Solidarity Network. Brenda has co-chaired a number of national webinars in recent years and represented the National Solidarity Movement at a tribunal on Cuba in Brussels. Currently, she is working on a campaign to help Cuban athletes get visas in order to participate in their 2028 Olympics and qualifying events. March 20th, a delegation with Code Pink headed from Miami to Cuba as a part of the Nuestra America Convoy, a global coordinated mission delivering humanitarian supplies for homes, hospitals, schools, and families in need. This act was an act of solidarity, but also an act of defiance against the cruel blockade that the U.S. has upheld for 67 years, and that is now being escalated with Trump's most recent oil blockade, starting in January of this year. So together we broke the siege, saved lives, and stood up for the cause of Cuban self-determination. One thing that Brenda did want me to mention and to emphasize, especially as we talk about the aid, is to thank Global Health Partners, an organization that has been at the front lines of, collecting material aid and support for, for the Cuban people. This is, medical supplies, people going down with, suitcases filled with medical supplies that, that helps to save lives. As we know, this has, created a huge impact on the healthcare system, not just in Cuba, but also how Cuba participates internationally with its medical internationalism. So what Brenda says here is, what is Cuba lacking? The Cuban people and government are lacking sovereignty above all. Without that, they do not have access to the world market like the rest of the world does, limiting their buying autonomy. Now with the oil blockade, it adds a whole other layer of obstacles of people not being able to go to work, to get to appointments, access basic needs, and people are out of power for hours. Other observations, Cuba's power grid is still heavily reliant on oil. So without power, water pumps don't work. So that means that no water for hours and sometimes days. Lately, and a lot of backup on the generators, also who, which run on oil. Gasoline is selling at $40 a gallon. The lack of energy is also causing continual electricity blackouts, which causes further reductions in, tourism and reduces the ability to do surgeries, reduce the hours of hospitals and schools, lower production, reduced water quality, decreased food production, and increased spoilage. Cuba is responding with major increases in renewable energy, receiving increased number of solar panels and batteries, both as gifts from China and buying others. The solar energy now produces a quarter of Cuba's energy needs, and that percentage is growing rapidly. And while some countries are failing on the pressure to the U.S., others are standing strong in their commitment and support to Cuba and provide humanitarian aid like they have for them before. The leaders of Spain, Brazil, Mexico recently met and pledged substantial humanitarian aid and made a joint statement demanding respect for Cuban sovereignty and criticized Donald Trump's threat to take or to invade Cuba. I'm going to go through just a couple more because I think we are a little bit behind on time, but this report is very thorough, and I'm going to come back to the part that Brenda wanted me to emphasize. And this is talking about the renowned, Cuban healthcare system that has continuously faced the obstacles of accessing material things like medications, equipment due to the blockade. But now this has exacerbated. Ambulances are struggling to find fuel to respond to emergencies, and persistent outages have plagued and deteriorated hospitals. They have heard from doctors. Something we heard from multiple doctors in Cuba was that without power, doctors they're having to do everything manually to keep patients alive, like manually pumping air to patients. Patients that were on ventilators that stopped working because there's no power, no oil, or even to the backup generators. The oil blockade has seriously impacted neonatal hospitals in Cuba as well, leading to increased infant mortality rates. Hospitals are struggling to operate due to limited electricity and resources, resulting in preventable deaths among newborns and other vulnerable populations. So last part that we'll read from here is that the Global Health Partners, and this is why Global Health Partners had a pacemaker campaign for Cuba. This was a very successful campaign. They were able to raise and fundraise and send over 900 pacemakers. This year, Global Health Partners launched a surgical sutures campaign. Surgical needles and sutures are essential for virtually every medical procedure, from minor cuts to highly specialized microsurgeries, and from cesarean deliveries to open heart operations. They are indispensable tools for closing wounds and ensuring proper healing. Global Health Partners is now they're gearing up for a massive neonatal and maternal campaign to help alleviate and reverse this tragic development, and pilot project aimed at nationwide replication. Working in partnership with Cuba's Ministry of Health, Global Health Partners program will initially focus on 2 Havana hospitals. This is the Diaz de Octubre Maternity Hospital and Ramon Gonzalez Coro Maternity Hospital, which treat the most complex pregnancies and neonatal cases. The latter facility, also provides specialized care to infants born to mothers with diabetes or health disease from all 15 provinces. So people can donate and learn more at ghpartners.org or on Instagram at, with the @GHPartners. This is the Global Health Partners. I'm going to put that in the chat for our chat moderators to repost. And I also will make sure that there's another link for how people can get involved and support the initiatives of Global Health Partners. So I want to make sure that I also get that information out to everybody as well. So yes, thank you so much. So we're going to come back to our program, and we hope to have Hands Off Cuba comrades, Hands Off Cuba Committee, and our other, Cuba fronts that we have worked with, the National Network on Cuba, Venceremos Brigade. These are all forces who are a part of the Fightback Coalition and, playing a role in the Latin America front of the, international anti-colonial, human rights, development of this organizational capacity that we must build. So I just want to appreciate Comrade Brenda and Comrade Mark Friedman and the steering committee of the Hands Off Cuba Committee for your tremendous work and support for the Uhuru 3 and for this update on the convoy to Cuba and the impacts. Uhuru. So Uhuru comrades, well, I just want to see if I should give a quick update on our total raise, which I will. I just want to thank a couple more donations that have come in. I want to thank Anna. Thank you so much, Anna, for your donation. Great to see you on. And Brandy, welcome back. It's great to also see you again. These are also, other members of the Cuba Solidarity Work, and it's great to have you forces here with us. And we hope to also see you in Atlanta. So, comrades, we're going to move to our next speaker. This is our, keynote presentation, political analyst, an opportunity for us to hear from Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who will sum up this period. I just want to take a moment to introduce the chairman and to appreciate the chairman's contributions to this struggle. And as the African People's Socialist Party, which was founded in 1972 with the goal to complete the Black Revolution of the 1960s, the African People's Socialist Party has, assumed this tremendous task to be accomplices of history in this great battle between the past and the future, and to build a future free of oppression, to build a world where few do not live at the expense of the vast majority of other peoples of the world. Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the founder of the African People's Socialist Party, which is an international organization that exists in the US, in Europe, in Africa, in the Caribbean, with mass organizations and economic institutions around the world. The African People's Socialist Party is the advanced detachment of the African working class. And the APSP is organized to pursue the goal of liberation and unification of Africa and African people under the leadership of the African working class as a critical component to the struggle to overthrow imperialism and all of its representations and manifestations. This includes all forms of colonialism. APSP is a part of the establishment of the international dictatorship of the working class. Our theory, African internationalism, which is what you hear on today, being summed up, is a theory that explains the world, as well as a place for, as well as the place and future for Africans in this world. African internationalism recognizes that capitalism was born as a world economy and has its origin in the assault on Africa and the global trade of African captives, as well as ensuring or ensuing European onslaught on most of the world. This is the fight and the struggle that Chairman Omali Yeshitela has built. I want to salute the African People's Socialist Party and my leadership and our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is joining us in St. Louis at the headquarters here in the U.S. front of the African liberation struggle. So Uhuru, Chairman, let me just prompt you to unmute before we do that.
We're good. All right.
Yeah, you're good now.
Uhuru. Thank you, Comrade Chairwoman Mwezi. And I want to express my appreciation to all of those who have spoken before. This is an incredibly significant webinar that we are conducting as in anticipation of having to go to Atlanta, Georgia, to make the oral arguments before the federal court there to fight, to get rid of, to remove, to defeat the charges, the conviction, the conviction of me, comrades Penny Hess and Jesse Neville, convicted for having, they say, conspired to not register as foreign agents, which is an extraordinary charge. And in fact, it didn't even require us to have done anything. And it's a thought crime. And that's part of what makes it so serious. I really want to unite with everyone who has expressed appreciation for these incredible lawyers that we've had who've gone into the courtrooms with us, but who went to the courtroom with us while recognizing that this was a political attack that was made on the African liberation movement, and that they used the law as a means to pursue political objectives. And I think that's extremely important. I also wanted to just speak to my deep and profound appreciation for Comrade Ephraim Mungaza, a SNCC veteran, but that doesn't really fully explain her significance, because her significance is part of the significance of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee itself, as a phenomenon that occurred in this country and was the bridge between the civil rights movement and the struggle for real power in the hands of African people. It was a bridge between the struggle for civil rights against racism and the struggle for political power, for Black power against colonialism. And that's a really important thing. And I want to say this because everybody in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee did not get along with each other, did not unite with each other on certain issues and what have you. And as is often the case, we defined what it is we were doing by often the people we were doing it with, et cetera. And sometimes we overlook the thing that we are doing itself. And the thing that it's like being on a bus that has a certain designation that it's going to. And it's in the process of doing that, but the passengers on the bus often have serious disputes with each other. But the objective is not the disputes that the passengers have, but the fact that the bus is going toward anti-colonialism. And that's what the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee did. I wish we had, and I think that's part of the reasons why both Comrade Afia and I are part of this process and continue to do this work, because we have continued to develop the ideas and that came from with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And these are not ideas that sprang from the forehead of any kind of God or anything like that, but it was contributed to by Garvey and by Malcolm X and by others of us, as it had to be. And I'm just mentioning this because it's extremely important. It's important because the attack that was made on us was an attack on our right to talk, our right to complain about our conditions, our right to organize others, both those of us who are colonized and those who might unite with us as a colonized people to end the circumstances that we find ourselves in. That's what the attack was. And I think it's really important. It's not just some out of the blue, as Comrade Leonard Goodman said, the lawyer, why them? Why do they attack us? And, we can point to some specific features of how we carried on this struggle against the social system. But the basic thing is that we continue to develop this whole movement. And this is a movement that denies the right of anybody to define our humanity for us. This is a movement that refuses to live with the consequences of a brutal, murderous aggression by African people that actually killed a third of the African population. I want people to remember that a third of the African population was murdered in this process of capturing and holding us in captivity as African people. And that's what we've been fighting against. That's what you talk about what the United Nations declaration that just occurred around the question of Ghana is a declaration that is a follow-up to, that responds to a history of resistance, a history of struggle, and a history of oppression that gave birth to the social system that we live in right now. So I just think it's really important for us to understand that, because if a Supreme Court or any kind of court says that we don't have any right to exist, that we don't have any right to have dignity as a people, that our children don't have the right to live, et cetera, then it's illegitimate. I don't give a damn if it is legal, it's illegitimate. And that's the thing that we've been confronted with historically. That colonialism itself, the colonizer makes the law. The colonizer makes the law everywhere. The colonizer makes the law in Israel. The colonizer makes the law here within the United States. The colonizer makes the law, but colonialism itself is illegitimate. And I think it's really important for us to recognize that. So I wanted to say that. I also want to say that Comrade Afia mentioned Comrade Dorothy Lewis, Queen Mother Dorothy Lewis. 7 years before NCOBRA was ever created, Dorothy Lewis was the first president of the African National Reparations Organization and participated in the first tribunal of reparations for African people that happened in this country, that set up a trial against the United States, charging it with genocide, charging it with violating all of the principles of the United Nations, et cetera. and even saying that these charges were serious enough for the United Nations, for them to be evicted from the United Nations. Dorothy Lewis was there. She was, as I said, one of the first, she was the first president of African National Women Reparations Organization. So, and this is a SNCC contribution, by the way, because it was SNCC activists, SNCC organizers from that period that created the World Tribunal and that's participating in this discussion that we're having today. Also, I think that it's really important for us to understand our significance. This is something that an assault has been made on colonized people to undermine our sense of significance as human beings, as people who have the right to chart our own futures, even the laws that they talk about, even the fact that they would hide their criminality and violation of even of laws that they have created by saying that these laws, they are supposed to apply to us, they say. These laws, the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, they do apply to us, they say. And the reason that we are going to put you in prison for 15 years is not because you somehow spoke about issues that we disagreed with. They said that's not why we did it. We want to put you in prison for 15 years because the Russians told you to say that. Now, why was it necessary for them to say that? It was necessary for them to say that because colonialism is based on a presumption of the colonizers doing something to help those who are colonized. This is the political line. This is the philosophy that they put out for the whole world, that we're not doing something bad to them. We're taking up the white man's burden, that we don't want to be in Africa. We don't want to be all over what they call South America, et cetera, doing these things. We didn't want to be in India capturing and stealing the people's resources and killing the people. We didn't want to do those things. But it's our responsibility because we had this surplus of civilization, this surplus of Christianity, and we had to share it with everybody else. And as civilized people, this is our responsibility. And if they don't say that, you see, then they have to offer an explanation. Why the hell you have all of these principles about free speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, et cetera, on the one hand, and then on the other hand, you are killing and locking up people who exercise these presumptions of these things that we're supposed to be available to all of us. And of course, the explanation is that they cannot justify based on what happened. They justify by creating a false narrative that they are fighting us and killing us, not because we are violating, not because we are violating some constitutional protected activity, but because the Russians told us to do this, et cetera, which is nonsensical and extremely problematic. And I think it's important for us to say, and for me to say, that my participation in this struggle, the reason I have to go to Atlanta, the reason that they attacked us pre-dawn and threatened me, my wife, at our home, and threatened comrades Jesse and comrades Penny and their roommates, housemates at their home, the reason they did that was because they wanted to keep us from talking. They wanted to keep us from saying anything about our conditions, about the conditions of African people in this country, in this world, in fact. And I say this world because when you look at the United States is the big hegemon. It dominates much of what's happening in the world, but what we see happening in the world also is an unraveling of the global order, the global colonial order. And this is the thing that's driving them into a frenzy, that's making it necessary to go into and murder almost all the Palestinians that they can locate. And this is the thing that got them strangling Cuba. They're trying to starve and murder the people there in Cuba. This is the thing that's responsible for obvious violation of anything that approximates law. In attacking Venezuela, kidnapping the legitimate president there, and then bringing them to the United States for a kangaroo court hearing. It is an illegitimate social system. and it will use the law, and it will create the law. They like to pose as being this country government that is based on rules by law, and that's not absolutely true. Rules of law. The fact is that the colonizer makes the law. And when the colonizer does, and the law doesn't serve the interests of the colonizer changes the law. And we've seen this even in my lifetime, how many times the law has changed to meet and these are constitutional things that we're talking about, not just small and minor issues, the presumption of innocence, et cetera. All of these, there's so many things that's changed because it serves the interests of the colonizers. So I wanted to also say that the charge against us, again, they were political charges, they're ideological charges, and they are charges that challenge the whole notion of the United States being guilty of oppression of the colonized. They challenge the whole notion that our opposition to what the United States was doing with the war in Ukraine, that they were using Ukraine as a cannon fodder, the people in Ukraine as cannon fodder for Ukrainians and Russians. They don't acknowledge that reality, but that is the case, and that's what they attacked us for. So I think that when we look at this Ghana United Nations resolution, we are getting to the core of the contradiction that we are dealing with. And that is a whole social system that was founded on the enslavement of African people, the colonial enslavement of African people, the murderous brutality against African people, so much so that it's become ordinary and nobody's even surprised by it or upset by it, etc. So I am upset by it. And it's my responsibility is to make you upset about it. And I want you to tell everybody else in the world to be upset about it. And not just be upset about it in some kind of casual way, but to be upset about it in a fashion that you will unite with those of us who are colonized, to fight for the absolute liberation of Africa, African people, and colonized peoples around the world, to recognize that your future is here. When we talk about the Bill of Rights and things like that, it should make sense to you that when they attacked us for speech, we were never offered protection. Free speech protection was not something that came with our being brought to this country. We were brought here at gunpoint. We were not somebody fleeing from King George or something to that and trying to find free speech or trying to find freedom of assembly. We have notions of free speech and freedom of assembly here in this country is because the people who are now the colonizers were people who were escaping what they characterize as tyranny in Europe and England and places like that. And therefore they established laws, et cetera, they said to protect them from such a thing occurring again. In other words, what we found is that the colonizers made a struggle that freed them to oppress everybody else. So it freed them to oppress Africans, freed them to oppress the indigenous peoples here on this land within North America. So please do what you can. Come out and be with us in Atlanta. And the hearing, the oral arguments are the 22nd of July. And we having an event on the evening of the 21st of July. We want you to come out. Please come out and be with us and unite with the peoples of the world who need to change our circumstances. And this is not the easiest thing in the world for many people to do, but the world has changed. It has changed, and some people are frightened to death by what it is that they are seeing. They think that they're looking at great power when people can kidnap presidents and they can bomb to near oblivion whole peoples, as what we see in Palestine. Or they can attack and kill the leaders of like in Iran, etc. But they are not looking at great power. They're looking at a consequence of trying to put the genie back in the bottle. That the people want freedom, and the people are fighting for freedom everywhere. And that's everywhere. And that's from Iran, that's from Venezuela, that's from St. Louis, Missouri, in the United States. That's everywhere you are. People want to be free, and that's what this fight is about. So we're hoping that you will come, be with us, and unite with us, because the conditions that we are fighting for, when you see we talking about free speech, obviously it's not for those of us who never had it. I mean, in the sense that the Constitution, we never had it, but it's you who have never been victimized by this assault. Those who presume to have the right to free speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of association. When they come for us, this is why we say it's the canary in the coal mine. When they come for us, it means that it's you who they're ultimately coming for as well. Your future is closely linked, intimately linked with the future of Africa, African people, the colonized here and around the world. That's what the future is. And that's why we say that what we're looking at right now is an end to this past of oppression, exploitation, and colonialism, and opening up a new era of human history where we can be free and human beings can be liberated. And we're asking everybody to jump in on this process. So come to Atlanta, make your contributions now, so that we can take care of making sure that the lawyers are well taken care of, because they've been trying to take care of us. And through us, they've been trying to take care of you as well. So I look forward to seeing everybody in Atlanta, and just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and relentless. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Vanguard up.
Uhuru.
Vanguard up. Uhuru, Chairman. Powerful. And yes, just really want to appreciate your overview, and I just want to unite with the call to have, remind us that this is one struggle, one fight, and there will be one victory. So freedom in our lifetimes, and freedom in your life, Chairman Uhuru. So, comrades, we're coming up to the appeal, which is a very exciting part of our webinar. As the chairman just reminded us, we have to support our lawyers, our attorneys, this legal fight back. So I'm happy to give this appeal with Comrade Chair Jesse of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and also who leads the Hands Off Uhuru Legal Defense Support Committee alongside Comrade Chimarenga Selambao. And we want to appreciate our comrade Amanda, who has been behind much of the work, leading the work of the fight back in terms of the legal resources and the fundraising overall. So thank you, Comrade. I just want to salute you and appreciate you for preparing this appeal update. So Uhuru, Comrade Jesse, do I see you on? Yes, I do.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, Comrade. All right, I'll see you. Uhuru.
Uhuru, this has been such a powerful event. I want to salute that brilliant presentation by Chairman Omali Shatella and all of the people who have presented today. And I also want to thank all of the people who have gone to handsoffahuru.org/donate and gotten us to our current amount raised today, which is $1,020. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
So we want to thank Mauricio, who contributed $250. Uhuru Mauricio. Barbara, who contributed $25. Frank, who contributed $100. Brendan, who donated $25. Maureen, $50. Kat, $25. MQ, $40. Lisa, $25. Johan, Comrade Johan, who donated $300 today. Uhuru Johan. We want to salute Indigo, who contributed $30. Anna, who donated $100. And Brandy, who put in $10, and Halima, $40. So thanks to everyone who has donated thus far. We are at 1,020, only 980 left to go to meet our goal for today's webinar. And if we go to the slides.
Pull up the slides.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I did not.
Pledged 100.
Uhuru Angelica pledged $100. Uhuru Angelica. So that brings us to $1,120 raised today, only 880 left to go. And just to put this in context, this is part of funding the ongoing fight to continue winning in this incredible struggle under the leadership of the chairman and Hands Off Uhuru. You are funding the fight back when you go to handsoffuhuru.org/donate. I think the chairman just said it, Uhuru, a little interference there, but I think the chairman, just laid it out so brilliantly that through fighting for the Uhuru 3, that this legal team is fighting for your right to free speech. That is exactly right. And I just really appreciate the chairman laying that out. And what we're looking at right now is we are in the last round here of this stage of this battle to raise $7,895 total. Uhuru.
Sorry, comrades. I just want to make sure the slides are moving forward. Okay. Yes. And then slide, we're on. There we go. Go ahead.
So this is to go towards legal fees for the oral arguments hearing and different costs of mobilizing to pack the court and get people there on July 22nd. So we're getting towards the end of this phase. Thanks to you all, you can chop $1,120 off of that. So
$25.
Uhuru, Belinda Parker Brown, $25, Uhuru. And we want to thank, okay. So thank you so much to Comrade Belinda. And we are now talking about, again, raising the funds for this critical battle, which has incredibly high stakes for the future of anti-colonial free speech and the fight against colonialism. And how you contribute is you go to handsoffuhuru.org/donate, and you can actually contribute a bunch of different ways on that website. You can put in your card, ACH, PayPal, donor advised funds, cryptocurrency, stocks, or Venmo. You can also mail checks payable to Hands Off Uhuru, and you can send those checks to Hands Off Uhuru at 2654 Gravois Ave, St. Louis, Missouri, 63118. And on the next slide, as we've been saying, a victory for this appeal will be a victory for free speech for everybody. That's what this is about. And if you go to the next slide, so thanks to you, this powerful legal team is ready to continue this fight. And next slide, thanks to your support, and these numbers keep going up, but it's over $500,000 that has been raised to go to trial and win the victories up to this point, plus $60,000 to retain the legal team to file the appeal. And this includes the incredible pro bono contributions, first by Leonard Goodman, who then hired Angela Rainey, and then now by both Leonard and Angela, who has started her own practice and stayed on pro bono. So again, we salute the incredible Uhuru 3 legal team. And this part of the battle is one in which Hands Off Uhuru is calling on comrades everywhere to form local committees and hold fundraisers, make pledges and make goals to host events like this one, to hold forums, to hold outreach tables, to hold fundraising events, benefit shows, film showings, outreach tables, anything you can come up with to raise resources and get the word out in your community. This struggle is going to be won on the streets. The victories in the courts have been because of the victories on the streets by the people in the Hands Off Uhuru anti-colonial free speech fight back. So again, you can go to handsoffuhuru.org/donate. And we want to thank, again, everybody who has contributed up to this point. Comrade Bakri, who put in $25. Uhuru Bakri, Uhuru.
Uhuru.
And we're going to continue announcing donations as they come in. But again, we want to thank everybody. And if there's anyone on this call right now that would like to put in the remaining approximately 6,000 or so left to fund the oral arguments, we encourage you to do so. handsoffuhuru.org/donate. And again, call on everybody everywhere to start thinking about building your local committees and hosting fundraisers where you are, so that the people's movement can bring in these resources and get us on the road to yet another victory for the Uhuru 3 and for anti-colonial free speech. Uhuru. And I see our calculators are adding stuff as I'm talking, so we'll continue to update you before we close out today. And Chair Mwezi, anything you wanted to add?
Uhuru. Well, yes, just please, let's remember that we can give an update before we get off. That's important. So thank you, Comrade Chair Jesse. And I just really want to appreciate this update. And I had one thing I was going to say, but I think it's been said already. But just going back to that last slide, around the committee work, I want to, put out the call also from our, fundraising committee that if you, unite with building a committee in your area or helping to, raise, get people to donate to the, Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition, or hold an event and invite a speaker, to your area. These are some ways that we can continue to put out the work of the Uhuru 3 case, and also mobilize the people to come into organization as we build this united, anti-colonial struggle, and the struggle against the attacks on free speech, which we know impacts everyone. So start a committee in your area, go to handsoffwhuru.org/donate. And I just want to unite in thanking all of our donors. And so right now we are at $1,170 raised. We have just $830 left to go to meet our goal of $2,000 for the legal appeal on today. So Uhuru comrades,
Uhuru.
I just want to just quickly before Uhuru, thank you, Chair Jesse, for that update. And comrades, just before we move into a very brief Q&A, if there are any questions, and our chat moderators can please maybe put them in the main document, or, in case I'm missing anything. But I do want to just give a shout out to where people are tuning in from. I want to salute Ecuador. We have viewers watching us in Ecuador, in Los Angeles, California, Lakeland, Florida, St. Louis, Missouri, San Diego, California, Worcester, Ohio, San Francisco, California, Largo, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, Punta Gorda, Florida, Mesa, Arizona, London, England, and that's Kat. She wrote her name there, so great to see you, Kat. Louisville, Kentucky, Washington State, and Westminster, California. So this is just a representation of how far and wide we can take this work. So I want to appreciate you, comrades, for being on and participating with us in this in this fight back in today's program. So do we have any questions? And if not, then I might see if there's any,
Uhuru.
Oh, sorry. Is that a yes?
I saw a question from Ann Hirsch. It might have been answered, but it's a little bit further up about.
Okay, let me look for that.
It
was, I
was.
see it here. Maybe this is it. When this is overturned, will the government have to pay back all the legal fees? That's the one.
When we sue them.
Is that the one you saw, Chairman Petty? That's a question from.
Yes,
from
yes,
Ann
that
in the
was the
chat.
one. That was the one. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just reread that statement or that question. And I don't know if Leonard Goodman is still on, but this can be summed up that, we are owed that. But the question from Ann is, when this is overturned, will the government have to pay back all the legal fees? So I don't know if maybe even any of the Uhuru 3 can speak to that.
I think Comrade Jesse can speak to it.
Yeah.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Winning the appeal wouldn't automatically require them to pay back the legal fees, but winning a lawsuit against them would. And that would not only be for legal fees, but also the damage that they did to all the properties, which I think was like $40,000 or more. Income lost from institutions that the government attacked and shut down, debanking, taking, individuals and organizations of the movement, canceling their bank accounts and lines of credit, and more. I mean, there's a lot. So all the equipment that was stolen, and so that's an important question, and definitely something that will be under discussion in the future.
Uhuru. I think it's also important for us to say, and obviously it should be recognized just by this event we're having right now, that the attack on the party, African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement, did not push us out of the political struggle, that we've been fighting seriously since then. And that I continue to invite people to come here to St. Louis so that you can see the remarkable work that has occurred here. One of the lawyers told us after coming here, said, now I see why it is they attacked you. Because they saw the important work that we do here to negate the colonial stranglehold on our people. And to say that we have to also recognize the role that was played by Comrade Deputy Chair Ona Zane Ishatella, who has been the architect of much of what's seen. In fact, people were working on the farm that we just initiated here in St. Louis today. And on the 15th of August, in anticipation of the August 17th birthday, what is that, 139 years or so anniversary of the birth of Marcus Garvey, our bakery cafe, after they blocked us for a year of even getting the permit to do it, we'll have a formal opening of our bakery here. So the work continues, and people should be aware of that. We have not folded tent or anything like that. In fact, how we've characterized this movement now, this work that we're doing, as a counteroffensive. We are saying that this is not just somebody just holding up shields to keep from being harmed. It is somebody who recognizes that they attacked us in the first place because of the success we were making in the struggle against colonialism. And so they attacked us, and we are making a counteroffensive. And this is the work that we're doing, and we're asking you to participate in. So I look forward to seeing everybody in Atlanta. And of course, if you can't come, send your dollars. But we prefer to have you. If there's a choice between you and the dollars, we'd prefer you to be there. So, and I want to just express my appreciation again to Comrades Penny Hess and Jesse Neville, and to you, Comrade Mwezi, for hosting this committee, the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa Committee, and all of you who are here with us. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chairman. Yes, it's a great honor, and salute to the party's leadership in this fight back. So we will win, comrades. And I did want to just circle back. There are there's lots of comments in the chat, and may not be able to read all of them, but I do want to just say two of the questions that were also raised today, and one of them, and some of them we may have to answer at a next webinar, and I'll make sure that we remember that, because one of them was addressed to Attorney Goodman, and he's no longer on. But either way, I'd like to read just two more questions, if I may, Chairwoman Penny, before we move on to our announcements and closing. So I see here, and thank you so much. I just want to appreciate our chat moderators and our volunteers. A lot of this, none of this can be done without, the people. So it's really important, the material support that we provide, and I just want to appreciate and salute our chat moderators. So who, comrades? This is Kenji on Zoom, who asks, can you speak to how the international community and institutions are looking at the Uhuru 3 case? Kenji also asks, have you had any contact with people at the UN, or have any of them indicated that they're looking at it and is following its development? So speaking about the Uhuru 3 case on that level, yes, so I can open that up, but I know at one point there was some work even around the permanent forum for people of African descent, PPAD, that we were also, so go ahead, Comrade Afia. That's best addressed by you, Uhuru, Comrade.
Yes, the Uhuru 3 case was included, a testimony was taken by the IMLR, which is the experts that were sent to the United States following the murder of George Floyd, and they took testimony on the abuses of law enforcement in this country, and they were able to presentations were able to be made on behalf of Uhuru 3, and the video of the that you all saw earlier with them breaking into the various properties and the comments made by the chairman is a part of the official record.
Yes.
May I also contribute to
Yes,
that?
Chairman, please. Thank you, Sister Fia. Yes,
Thank you,
ahead,
Sister Afia. That's a really important question.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons that they attacked us. because it's been addressed previously, but we had collected 130,000 signatures on petitions charging the United States with violation of the 1948 Genocide Convention by the United Nations. And this is one thing that I think really concerned them. They mentioned in the indictment, certainly during the process of trying us, that one, they were concerned because they said that we had a strategic interest in diplomatic encirclement of the United States. They talked about that on more than one occasion during the trial. They mentioned, I think that in the indictment, that we were trying to sow dissension within the United States in order to build, support a secessionist movement, which is an extraordinary statement. For one thing, it presupposes the likelihood that something like that could happen. For them to say that's why they're putting us in jail because we're trying to get African people to succeed from the United States is testimony to what they think our conditions are and the likelihood of that happening. Of course, it's because they don't understand our struggle. In order to succeed to something, you have to be a part of it. Yeah. We've never been a part of it. So we're not trying to succeed. We just want independence. As a people, we want to have control of our own affairs. And so these are some of the things that they mentioned in attacking us, et cetera. And, the thing is that in many ways, the evidence that the stuff that they said we were guilty of, the evidence that they had collected to prove that, or we had access to that. And we were able to use the evidence that was supposed to criminalize us to show exactly what it is that we were about. And and they saw that it wasn't the Russians or anybody who got us to do this, that we were doing this as one of the persons who they claim to be our handler, the Russian who we were supposedly working for, as he said on some social media outlet, that hell, we were doing this stuff before he was born. And that's an absolute, truth, that, et cetera. So we do, I have a lot of interest in this question of the United Nations. The United Nations is not going to free us. But what happens is that it contributes, like the United Nations, they didn't think the United Nations was going to send an army in to free the people of the Palestinians. But the fact that it was taken to the United Nations and ruled on, it gave it a sense of international support that prevented an absolute isolation of that movement. And I think that's part of what it is that we want to make sure occurs, that we have a strategic interest in winning the world to support our struggle for political independence. You notice we didn't go to get the world to support us to integrate into America. And that's the problem that they have, because they love this thing where we are fighting to integrate into America. They love it, love it, love it, because that proves the significance that and the freedom that they represent. If we are fighting and dying to unite with them, it must be a powerful incentive in terms of the validity of the society itself. And that's not what we're doing at all. And I wanted to say that. And again, we're looking at the unraveling of this thing. And that's why this thing with Iran is so significant. They're trapped in Iran right now, and they're trapped in various other places. And they don't recognize it yet, but we do. So, Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chairman. Yes, that's really powerful. I appreciate you going back to the petition and some of the statements around diplomatic encirclement, and even what this means for us in terms of, as you talk about recognizing our significance and the building of this international human rights organization that not just takes these takes us to these various fronts and, bodies, but is, serious about building dual and contending power. And I just want to read another, just want to thank Kenji for that question. And just Kenji also made a statement saying that they would love to see us on Blue Sky/Black Sky. This is a platform that I think a lot of journalists and organizers also, contribute to. And if you could put that in the chat, or if somebody has that information, we would love that. Any way that we can get this out there in the world, we would participate in that. So thank you, Kenji. Uhuru. Yes, thank you, Carmen. I see your comment.
Yes, and Kenji said, Uhuru, thank you so much. So incredibly encouraged by you, of persistence, tenacity, and moral clarity. Uhuru.
Yes, right on. And thank you for being here, comrade. And there's another question. I'm just going to read it for the record, and then we're going to move the agenda. This is from Don on YouTube. The question, Comrade Don asked, question for Attorney Goodman: what is the history of infringements on colonial free speech, and what has been done with this information? So question was directed to Attorney Goodman, so we can make sure that this is information that is accessible to our attorneys and who are working hard at bringing the, making this a really important process in how they are building the case, as well as we heard some of the main points that will be presented at the hearing. So thank you, Comrade Don, for your question as well, and everybody for just your contributions into the chat. I do want to say one thing before we—
Has Attorney Goodman left?
Yes.
Let me speak to that a bit too, because I think it's important that, when we start talking about free speech and anti-colonial free speech, the thing is, in some ways, what they did to us was improvement. And the fact is, how they usually handle the issue of colonized people speaking up is just a lynch mob, burning us to death and stuff like that, dragging us behind vehicles, hanging us and shooting us to bits, etc. That's how it's been done. And so to this extent, the struggle to force some kind of presumption of access to constitutional rights, etc., has been important. That is to say, now we make them have to, used to have a saying, they used to hang us in the tree. Now they lynch us legally. And I think that's an improvement. At least we got a minute or so, generally speaking. But as you know, Don, I'm sure you do, there have been instances where they have arrested us ostensibly to take us to trial. And ostensibly, the jails have been broken into, and Africans who were in prison were kidnapped and then taken out by mobs and murdered. This is not a small thing. I mean, I think people should recognize we're talking about murders that sometimes where you had 10, 15, 20,000 colonizers come out to celebrate our murder. And they would do it sometimes, it would take days, that they would actually burn an African slowly. So I guess in some ways you can say that this is an improvement, what they have attempted to do to us right now. I just think it's really important. I don't want us to fall into this trap of presumption that the question about rights starts and begin, with going to trial. Emmett Till didn't go to trial, and they said his was a free speech violation. They said he whistled at a white woman, and even that the white woman said was a lie. Later on, she said it was a lie, but she knew it was a lie then. And most people who heard about it knew it was a lie. I knew about it, and I think just going into what they called junior high school at the time,
Uhuru. Yep. Uhuru, Chairman, that's, just really want to appreciate your intervention. And this is, we are winning, I guess is what I say. I don't want to go on and on, but I just want to really appreciate your contributions, Chairman, to today's program. And I'm looking at some of the comments, and some of these we will, read out again at another time, because they're just really want to salute everybody who's participated in today's program. All right, comrades. So I thought there was one thing I wanted to do before we went to announcements. Yes, donations. where are we at with how much we've raised? Uhuru. And I'm gonna see what I have on my end and if there's any updates from our fundraising team. Okay, great. Uhuru. So Chair Jesse, I'll just go ahead and read if that's fine. We have raised, okay, so our goal is to raise $2,000 on today, comrades. So we want to thank everybody who went to handsoffuhuru.org/donate. We have raised a total of $1,220 towards today's goal. So that leaves $780 left. So I'm sure there's some math that I could throw out about if 10 people do this and, you know, and all that, but go to handsoffuhuru.org, or if you can do that $780, you know, go ahead and just, you know, close this out. But we just want to really appreciate everybody's donations, because it, you know, as we know, as the colonial crisis deepens, it also, you know, causes contradictions in other ways. And, you know, your contributions are really valued and appreciated. And we just want you to know that this has been such an important part of the fight back, and you have made it possible through your donations, the $1 donations to the $10,000 donations and more. So, you know, thank you, comrades, and, you know, invite others that you know who want to contribute to this fight back to help spread this far and wide. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
So before, Uhuru, Chairman, go ahead.
No, I was just.
Oh, he's saying Uhuru.
Yeah, uniting with
Uhuru.
your.
Yeah, Uhuru. All right, well, and speaking of that, I just want to thank our speakers. So Chairman, I want to appreciate and salute Chairman Amalia Shatella for your leadership and your political analysis on today's program. I want to salute and appreciate Attorney Goodman, Leonard Goodman, representing the Uhuru 3 attorneys who gave us a report on the appeal with our comrade, Chair Jesse. Thank you, Comrade Chair Jesse, as well. I also want to salute and appreciate Sister and Comrade Afia Wangaza for your contributions on today. It's always so great to have you on, and just the wealth of information and history that you provide is really profound. So thank you, Comrade Sister Afia, and we hope to have you back on soon again. And again, the link for the UN resolution was dropped in the chat. So please, if you want to read that, please go back and take a look at that. Again, thank you to all of our donors. Thank you to all of our volunteers. I want to thank Comrade Brenda of the U.S. Hands Off the Committee, who was unable to make it, but just want to salute that committee for their tremendous work and support for the Uhuru 3. And I want to salute our appeals team as well for your great work, our chat moderators. And we're going to go into some quick announcements to close this out for today. So I want to, again, say you can follow us by going to handsoffuhuru.org. You can find our events there and other information about the Uhuru 3 case, and also recordings of our past events. So you can direct people there. The Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition is the organization that is made up of other organizations like you and like yours. And so we invite you to join the coalition, you know, read our demands, our statement of unity, and join this fight back, you know, as we, you know, make the struggle and build the anti-colonial free speech movement. As we say, don't stop talking about the Uhuru 3. Oh, I wonder if we have different slides. Okay, I'm on 7-8. Yeah. Thank you, Carmine. But I'll keep going. Don't stop talking about the Uhuru 3. We're going to show you a quick, you know, visual of the flyers that we're calling on people to download and print and share widely about the Uhuru 3 appeal. Next slide. You can go to handsoffuhuru.org/outreach to download the flyer. This will be changing. As you know, there's upcoming events and other things that are happening, but this preliminary flyer is useful. There's a QR code that will take people directly back to the website to get the live updates on the campaign, and where they can also sign up to come to Atlanta, Georgia. So Wednesday, July 22nd, is the Uhuru 3 appeal. We want to pack the courtroom. And I also want to mention on the Take Action page, you will also see very soon courtroom guidelines and protocols. I think it was important that our attorney raised that, you know, how we conduct ourselves in this process. And we've done it in the past. Make sure that everybody is aware of that. And we want you to be well informed, you know, as you join us in the courtroom. Stay connected, follow us on social media. Share and like our videos, help beat the algorithms, And as we, continue this fight back on all fronts, our goal is to build the international anti-colonial human rights campaign and organization. And we say, next slide, put the colonial state on trial. We are winning, comrades. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on today. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. And we'll say, Vanguard up.
Relentless.
Uhuru. Relentless.
Uhuru.